In a land where destiny is often written in silence, one child's journey carried rare and uncommon secrets. From humble infancy to the battlefield of history, his story was never ordinary. It was untold, waiting to be revealed. This is the uncommon biography of Ibrahim Traoré, the young soldier who rose with uncommon courage, shocking the world and shaping the future of a nation. A tale of secrets, power, and destiny, told like never before. Every uncommon story begins with a birth. Ibrahim Traoré was born on 14th March 1988 in the heart of Burkina Faso. His arrival carried no noise, yet the unseen hand of destiny was already at work. He was raised in a modest Muslim family where discipline, faith, and resilience quietly shaped his early steps. His parents were not men and women of wealth or fame, but of rare values and uncommon strength. They planted in him the silent courage of the Sahel, the humility of tradition, and the wisdom of faith. These roots would one day prepare him for battles far greater than childhood could imagine. From the dusty paths of his village to the classrooms of Burkina Faso, young Ibrahim carried with him an uncommon hunger for knowledge. His parents, though simple, believed in the power of education. In every notebook and every lesson, the seeds of discipline and ambition were planted. As he grew, his path took him beyond the ordinary. At the University of Ouagadougou, he pursued geology, studying the hidden layers of the earth, while life itself was preparing the hidden layers of his destiny. It was rare, it was uncommon, a scholar's journey shaping a soldier's future. From the dust-filled villages of Burkina Faso to the corridors of global power, the life of Captain Ibrahim Traoré is one of those rare and uncommon stories that blend destiny, defiance, and determination. Born in 1988 in Bondokui, a small town tucked into Burkina Faso's Mohun province, his childhood was shaped by the earthy rhythms of rural life, the discipline of his parents, and the subtle but firm understanding that his country, once Upper Volta, reshaped by Thomas Sankara's vision of self-reliance, was still searching for its true independence. From a young age, Ibrahim embodied a mixture of silence and intensity. Classmates described him as studious, resilient, deeply curious, and someone who never yielded to peer pressure, a trait that would later define his political and military journey. His academic brilliance earned him scholarships, and he pursued geology at the University of Ouagadougou, a field that connected him to the land, but also revealed to him the vast wealth of resources that foreign companies extracted while ordinary Burkinabe lived in poverty. That early exposure to the paradox of rich lands and poor people stirred in him a consciousness that education alone could not quiet. After university, his calling turned toward the army, a place where discipline and national duty merged. In 2009, he joined Burkina Faso's armed forces, not as a child of privilege, but as a soldier with a purpose, someone determined to walk the hard road of service. His training was marked by endurance, intelligence, and an ability to strategize under pressure, qualities that placed him among the promising officers of his generation. Soon, his path took him beyond the borders of Burkina Faso, into the demanding world of United Nations peacekeeping missions. In Mali, under the blue helmets of MINUSMA, Ibrahim experienced firsthand the complexities of modern conflict: terrorism entangled with poverty, international aid coupled with foreign manipulation, peacekeeping efforts shadowed by hidden agendas. He saw villages burned, civilians displaced, and soldiers from Africa risking their lives while global powers dictated terms from afar. This exposure hardened him, sharpened his distrust of Western double standards, and deepened his belief that Africans must define their own destiny. His colleagues noted his uncommon leadership, calm under fire, decisive in moments of chaos, and empathetic towards civilians whose lives were disrupted by war. These experiences abroad, rather than making him admire international powers, made him more skeptical of their involvement in Africa's affairs.
By the time he returned home, Ibrahim had not only medals of service, but also questions burning in his heart about why Burkina Faso remained so vulnerable to insurgency, corruption, and dependency. As jihadist attacks escalated across northern and eastern Burkina Faso, confidence in President Roch-Marc Kabore's government eroded. Corruption scandals, mismanagement, and the perception that leaders were detached from the daily struggles of citizens created a vacuum. It was in this atmosphere that Ibrahim and his peers, younger officers with both field experience and disillusionment, began to discuss the need for change. Their discontent grew after the January 2022 coup led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Santiago Damiba, which promised security reforms but failed to deliver. When Damiba sought to negotiate with jihadist groups while maintaining close ties with France, suspicion spread within the ranks. For Ibrahim, who had seen France's role in Mali and the failures of external solutions, Damiba's policies seemed like an extension of colonial dependency. And so, in September 2022, Ibrahim and his allies moved swiftly, seizing power in an uncommon coup that shocked Africa and the world, not merely for its boldness, but because of who led it, a 34-year-old captain, instantly becoming the world's youngest head of state. His ascent sparked curiosity, controversy, and comparisons to Thomas Sankara, another young officer who had seized power in the 1980s with dreams of an African renaissance. From his first speech, Ibrahim positioned himself as anti-imperialist, pro-sovereignty, and deeply committed to prioritizing Burkinabe lives over foreign interests. His language was direct, at times fiery, filled with appeals to dignity, honor, and the rare promise that his people would no longer be pawns of international manipulation. Ibrahim's leadership style quickly developed into a cult of personality. Young people painted his face on walls, social media echoed with hashtags praising him as Capitaine Courage, and rallies featured chants demanding a complete break from France. His government expelled French troops, suspended French media, and pivoted toward new alliances with Russia. For many, this alliance shift symbolized not just geopolitics, but psychological liberation from the long shadow of colonial France. Critics, however, warned that swapping one dependency for another might not bring true sovereignty. But for Ibrahim, Russia's willingness to provide military equipment, training, and support without the condescending lectures of the West aligned with his vision of pragmatic partnerships. The shift placed Burkina Faso alongside Mali and Niger in a regional alliance that rejected ECOWAS and French influence, creating a bloc of defiance in the Sahel. Ibrahim's anti-Western, anti-colonial posture resonated deeply with a generation raised on stories of Sankara, frustrated by poverty and hungry for dignity. Yet it also drew international criticism and fears of isolation. His lifestyle contrasted sharply with typical African elites. He rejected lavish displays of power, kept a modest public profile, and emphasized discipline. Digital narratives amplified his image as a soldier of the people, a simple man who ate with troops, dressed plainly, and spoke bluntly. His authenticity, rare among leaders, became part of his legend. At the same time, his government extended the transition period to 5 years, arguing that stability and security had to be restored before democratic elections could be credible. This extension sparked debates. Was it genuine necessity or a slide into military authoritarianism? Supporters saw it as practical realism, opponents as dangerous ambition. Under his leadership, Burkina Faso also began prioritizing local production, resource control, and policies aimed at breaking the cycle of dependency. Gold, cotton, and other resources were framed as national assets, not bargaining chips for foreign corporations. He pushed for agricultural self-sufficiency, echoing Sankara's philosophy that true independence begins with control of food and resources. Yet controversies persisted. Some accused his government of human rights abuses in counterinsurgency operations. Others claimed that his rhetoric sometimes outpaced his capacity to deliver tangible change. Western governments accused him of aligning with authoritarian regimes, while some regional leaders worried that his example of youthful defiance could inspire unrest in their own countries. Digital spaces turned him into both a hero and a villain. Memes, documentaries, and viral videos portrayed him as either a savior of Africa or as a reckless adventurer. The truth, like much of history, lies somewhere in between, a man of vision and flaws, courage and controversy, conviction, and calculation. As the youngest head of state in the world, Ibrahim stands at a crossroads where his decisions could either reshape Burkina Faso into a model of sovereignty or plunge it into deeper isolation. His life, from humble beginnings to global headlines, is more than a biography. It is an unfolding experiment in African leadership, sovereignty, and survival. In Ibrahim Traore, we see the continuation of Sankara's unfinished dream, the rare audacity of youth against entrenched systems, the uncommon story of a soldier who dared to defy the script written for his nation. His biography is not a closed book, but an open page where every decision, every alliance, every controversy writes the next chapter of Burkina Faso's history and Africa's quest for true independence.